Okay, I got Brodie Sutherland back with me from Tocvan Ventures. That's TOC on the CSE. We just chatted, I think, about a month ago, Brodie. But I think that, well, I guess importantly for investors, and the reason we're here is that you do have enough news that kind of warrants a follow-up conversation here. Couple of news releases here from drill results from your Gran Pilar project in the main Pilar zone, and just sort of extending outside of it, and some pretty darn good grade, pretty darn good numbers. And so rather than, we'll get Brodie on here, I'll get him talking, but I just thought we could get Brodie here to help us to sort of understand and provide some context and color on these news releases. So yeah, Brodie, thanks for coming on, and how's your day so far?
Yeah, really good, Matthew. Appreciate having me in, and cold day in Canada, but nice and warm in Mexico. So looking forward to be back down there soon.
Well, no, let's just jump into it. I think I made the promise we'll keep it to 20, so we'll see how I do here. But, a couple of news releases, February 25th, which you see up on the screen right now, and then on March 11th, a couple of just some assays back. Looking pretty good. I'll just flip across here. Good results, right? There's a nice cross-section, and there you can see this is the results here. And Brodie, what I'll do, these are going to be fairly open-ended. I'll just ask you maybe just explain what you've done, and I'll do a little narrativization here before I hand it over to you, right? But it looks like you're getting, a pretty high grade, healthy little veins supported by wider swaths of maybe marginal but still above anticipated cutoffs. And I guess maybe I'll make sure if you agree or disagree with that characterization, let me know. But yeah, just we're starting to see Tocvan extend beyond its main zone and starting to extend parallel veins, right? Just extending the strike length. You're chasing things down dip a bit, maybe some critical infill. So yeah, maybe just let's start, I guess, with old news and see if we can work a little bit chronologically, Brodie. But just, do you just want to walk through what your February 25th drill results kind of accomplished for Tocvan and how you feel about them?
Well, the important thing is this first drilling ever onto our expansion area. So this is us testing the immediate extension to the north of mineralization, which has never seen a drill hole. In that release, there was the first 4 holes that we've drilled. And, we're happy to report that 2 of them are showing, significant mineralization. The best hole of which, is right near surface, high grade, over 3 meters of 19 grams per ton gold. A bit of a surprise, to be honest, in terms of seeing that high grades, that close to surface, but still somewhat concealed. We couldn't see that from the surface expression. So, a great indication that mineralization continues. Great to see that high grade. It looks like it's actually tied to an intrusion that has mineralization within it, which is new to us as well. And that could have some more significant implications as we look to better understand that. But just great indications that obviously things are continuing. There's a lot of open space around it that needs to be followed up on. And, just adding more resource potential for us as we move forward. And, this is the first little step into that expansion area. We've got a lot of area further to the north.
Just for the sake of clarity and conversation, people can kind of infer from themselves here, right? There's a nice cross-section here. I always like pretty pictures and nice colors, but how much have you extended strike length at this point with these holes? This what is this JES 24110 or sorry, 24101? How much have you kind of pushed things north here so far?
Yeah, that's extending things north another 100 meters, and then the whole 102 that was further off to the east that, had some decent mineralization within it. That's another 180 meters off to the east. So, really extending out mineralization in a significant way. And, important, again, everything to the north and east is fully open, never tested. So, a great start.
Mm-hmm. And you can see you're starting to kind of sneak into closer and closer slowly the placer workings too. Maybe I'll ask you, and I know this is something we covered, but I think it just helps to contextualize conversations as we go here. But unofficial rough or anticipated cutoff, or maybe kind of more directly that allows you to speak more directly rather. What are cutoffs that neighboring peers are using that you think is a reasonable or fair statement to be what Tocvan's cutoff would be?
Yeah, I think 0.15 historically has been used around us over the last couple of years. I think if you look at the price of gold today, we're comfortable using a 0.1. I think that actually fits in well with what we see with the broader mineralization across the property. So, I think that's a logical and realistic cutoff to look at. But obviously, you need the stronger mineralization within that to make it work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I have a couple of follow-up questions I want to talk about assay reporting, but let's just jump to, there you have previously, folks, just to be clear here, right? A nice, decent kind of high-grade interval, lots of broader swaths of lower grade. Then we jump forward to just a couple of days ago, this being Thursday, so I think that was out Tuesday. But here, this looks pretty good. Darn near 100 gram meter per ton hole, 10.3 over 9.7. There you go, right? That feels pretty good. I think that was the highest grade hole since the initial discovery hole by the Lundins back in the day. And I quite like this news release because this is what success looks like as well, right? But again, I think I'll just ask you, Brodie, maybe just sort of a little bit of a freestyle, free flow, but just walk us through again this last package of results, where they were, the significance of them, and the same thing, kind of what they add in terms of, and I think this one is more of a, infilling a bit of a gap here, which, still relevant, still important, and obviously a nice confirmation, but just same thing. Give us just a bit of a treatment of what this last couple of days ago news release did for you.
Yeah, so this is all core drilling, which historically there's been now over 27,000 meters of drilling completed on the project. About only 2,000 meters of that has been core. So it was important for us to go back and drill core to better understand the rock. So we can use that when we're building out our main resource estimate to have a more robust geological model. So that's the focus with the core drilling. So it's back through our main zone and then testing some of the targets that we've hit on in the last year further to the east of that. And so these are the first results we're seeing through it. They are infill holes. They're trying to understand kind of key areas across the deposit that with more information is going to help us target in the future. And, I think they've been extremely successful in doing that. The northernmost hole, there wasn't anything too exciting in it other than, some good gold values, great, silver with that, and very high copper as well, which is something that's quite unique on the left side of this image in the North Hill area. We do see elevated copper there. This is some of the best or highest hits of copper we've seen. But back towards our main zone where hole 104 was located, we knew there was a higher grade structure there. It's right at surface. We've hit it in past holes. Really, it was trying to get a sense of what it looks like at a slightly different angle, and also understand what is hosting that high grade. And here, we're hitting this very silicified, very hematite rich section of rock that's associated with faulting. It's completely obliterated the past texture of the rock, so it's hard to recognize exactly what it is. But this is what's hosting our highest grade gold and silver, and to get a result of close to 2 ounces per ton through that interval is fantastic. And it really, to us, that highlights the potential of Pilar's, that you've got this broad bulk tonnage target with decent low grade mineralization, but it's this high grade that's within it that really boosts that overall grade. And it's, for us, it's understanding where is that high grade throughout the deposit, how do we continue to target it, because it's only going to help us advance the resource.
Yeah, excellent. And so I think that positives, right? Like you say, core drilling help you sort of get a sense of what's going on subsurface and starting to fill in that kind of subsurface mapping and understanding. And maybe I'll transition to a question I have just around assay reporting and how you gents go about this. Obviously, in a perfect world with bulk tonnage, 100 meters at 1 gram per ton, every single meter is just exactly 1 gram per ton, and is just nice and perfect. Not how it works out. You gentlemen do. Tocvan does have larger swaths of above cutoff, but centralized and localized around, a much tighter sort of, like a high grade vein, classic sort of system, right? With a disseminated system outside of it or beyond it. Are you smearing a bit? I'll just jump right into it, nice and tough, right? Are you smearing results in terms of sort of, and intentionally or not, sort of obfuscating or masking how much of these kind of swaths will actually be above cutoff and mineable?
Well, I mean, really, we have to look at it in a logical way. When you're advancing an open pit, I mean, you're taking all that material. And the reality is that where we see the lower grade or above cutoff mineralization, as you move along strike or down plunge through that system, that grade can improve. And really, because we're dealing with something that has this high grade tied to the low grade, there's quite a bit of variation within that. And the best ways to showcase that and to display that is with a bulk sample. And, you know, when we completed one in 2023, the average for that material from 4 separate locations across the property was 1.9 gram per ton gold. Now, I think if you went and sampled select areas, you might come back with something quite a bit lower in grade. But the fact is that once you start to take the whole and group it together, you get an increase in overall head grade. So the way we look at it is, I mean, obviously, yeah, when you have a 60 gram per ton interval, it's pretty hard not to make it look like you're smearing it across a broader interval. But the reality is that that broader interval exists, and the fact that within that you can have higher grade mineralization anywhere within that system. So, you know, our take on it is we always report both, right? We're reporting the broader interval, which encapsulates that broad target that we'd be mining, but also, you know, showcasing the fact that there is that higher grade mineralization within it. So I think it's appropriate. I think it's, you know, it's needed to kind of fully understand what we're looking at. And, you know, I think we've been very open and honest with how we've approached that. So, you know, I think if this was a case where we just had high grade and then nothing around it, yeah, I mean, we don't want to see that in the industry. But in this case, I think it's justified. And, you know, we'll continue to kind of report in that way as we go. And as we continue and to learn more, I mean, we'll look to then advance it with showcasing what we think the true widths across these intervals are, which are likely not that much different to what we're seeing today in the drilled intervals.
You know, I know that, yeah, when those assay tables come back and there's 10,000 rows, it could be pretty mind-boggling trying to figure out how to actually report that in a way that makes sense to people, right? Yeah, what number and how to interpret and what to actually dissect and present to people, right? So I get it. And I mean, I think, no, I'm not to accuse you guys of bad behavior, because I don't think that's what's happening here. Just a question around that. And I think you're totally right. I mean, the bulk tonnage, that bulk sample will, that tells the tale to a greater degree than your tiny little 2-inch core going through the ground for 150 meters ever will, right? So why don't we transition to that, though, right? I mean, I just wanted to touch base on drilling. We're seeing some really, really positive results starting to develop, and starting to see how Pilar is kind of starting to slowly kind of grow and creep outward from kind of maybe the original understanding of what it was. But bulk sample, right? You got your 50,000 ton bulk tonnage sample that's, you know, kind of in the works here or in the process of kind of being initiated. Maybe again, sort of just to kind of set the table a bit, just so people get a sense of scale here. I'd ask you this kind of prior to going live, but in a hypothetical modular plant that has also been discussed, right? I mean, your throughput and you kind of, you know, clarified, and yes, makes sense, right? That in a heap leach scenario, it's not necessarily just your milling throughput, but, you know, what is this hypothetical throughput though? 1,000 tons per day, 5,000 tons per day, just so people can get just so people get a sense of scale for what 50,000 ton bulk sample, how that fits in.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, we're selecting material that's right at surface that, I mean, we've sampled extensively in the past. We're looking to further open that up and channel across it to get a better understanding of what we're seeing for grade at surface. That material will then get excavated, transported, and crushed. We're looking at crushing. Our capacity right now is about 1,000 tons per day. And then that'll get stacked onto a heap leach pad. And once that entire 50,000 tons is stacked, then we start the heap leaching process. So because this is a pilot, it's not an ongoing producing mine. It's a kind of a staged approach where you're looking at extraction, crushing, stacking on the heap leach pile, and then processing it through the heap leach. So, that's kind of what we're looking at. In the future, when you look at a full-scale opportunity here, a lot of the operators around us are going at around a 10,000 ton, upwards to 20,000 ton per day capacity, and I mean that all depend on the economics as we continue to put out mid resource estimate to PEA. So it's a great starting point for us in better showcasing the economics of this, and the fact that we can do it. And we're lucky in that we've got a deposit that's right at surface. I think it's important to kind of seize that opportunity, especially during a time when, looking today, I mean, gold's getting dangerously close to $3,000 an ounce. It's an exciting time to be looking for the metal.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe so you referenced you are collecting from a few different zones, trying to get as representative as you can of the project as is currently understood. Can you maybe just discuss, I mean, I guess just to throw it at you a little bit all at one here, but where are you sampling from? And then maybe, for sheer curiosity's sake, what's the footprint of this, right? What does 50,000 tons look like in terms of excavation? What does that look like? Where is it coming from, and how deep are you going, I guess, sort of thing?
Yeah, it won't be deep in terms of, we're looking at, probably like 3 meters, like the reach of an excavator in terms of depth. The overall footprint collectively, you're looking at, something around 100 meters by 200 meters, scraped at surface, but it's coming from 3 select zones currently based on our knowledge. And the majority of that's going to come from our main zone because we've got excellent exposure of that already. And it's also yielded, some fantastic results looking at it, not only from our past bulk sample, but from drilling, right at surface and fast trenching it. The rest will come from an area we call 4T, where there's already an established network of trenches there. Part of our bulk sample came from that area as well. We've had some, great drill results recently from that area, over 56 meters of a gram. And then to the north, on this North Hill trend, there's a great exposure there, decent mineralization. It's got a little bit of different characteristic to it, which I think is important to kind of see how that behaves as well. So, it's about spreading it out across the property where we have known exposures and the most confidence, and learning from that as we kind of take this next step towards development.
And then I think you've already answered this, but again, just for clarity's sake, is there going to be anything classified as waste rock, or every shovel is going to end up on the leach pad?
Yeah, great question. I think we'll definitely, our approach is to open up the ground, channel sample across it so we have the best indication of grade, and then, make a selection from there. From what we've seen in the past, it's looking at, wide intervals of mineralization above our cutoff and selecting that as one. I think because we're focusing on the stuff right at surface, we can be selective and avoid the waste rock for the bulk sample. But it'll be interesting to see what we track as average grade as we go through it. When we ran our bulk sample, we would take constant splits off the crushed material and assay that. And interesting enough, from what we sampled in the trenches, from what was coming off the crusher, from splits off the pile, everything was averaging 1.9 gram per ton gold. So be curious to see what we get when we look at it on an even bigger scale.
Yeah, not too shabby. 1.9, I'll take that for bulk tonnage open pit. Absolutely. I guess, hey, heck, look at this. Almost 20 minutes. Brodie, I'll leave it to you. What did I miss? Anything you want to remind us of that's coming up, or thoughts that you wanted to leave on?
Yeah, more core results to come. We've got 8 more holes to report from that last program. Expecting those out, over the next few weeks, really, into April. And then it's going to be, all the steps leading into the pilot mine. More drilling. The RC rig's on site, but it's not turning right now. It will be turning later this month. And just more excitement as we continue to drill off into our expansion area. and in tandem work through this pilot mine scenario. So lots of catalysts, looking at mineral resource estimate later this year, springing into a PEA, and let's see where gold goes and where the market does. And I think we're in a really good position to move with it.
No, excellent. There it is. I guess Brodie Sutherland, Tocvan Ventures, TOC.CN. Thanks for coming on. We'll talk again soon. But yeah, I think you nailed it right. I mean, there's a strong calendar here for you guys, and some strong news flow that if things go your way, it'll be a good year for Tocvan. Thanks, Brodie.
Thanks, Matthew. Cheers.